nice, so nice.
My name is Micheal Meyers. I am a civil engineer for the Federal Aviation Administration in the Office of Airports in the Airport Engineering Division. I'm from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. I'm in the class of 1995, graduate of All Saints Cathedral School, and very proud to do what I do. Being the son of a judge, I never saw him as a judge. I saw him as my father. And he was always very supportive of what I chose to do, the path I wanted to pursue in life, as long as I worked very hard and was very diligent and honest. And the same goes for my mother, who was a school teacher at Charlotte, or a retired school teacher at Charlotte Amalia. Engineering, as well as aviation, has always been a passion of mine. I was always just fascinated as to how things work, how things are built, and just aviation in particular was of interest to me. One of the first things I wanted to be when I was little was an airplane pilot. And a lot of that had to do with when I would visit my aunt who lived in Upper Content on Crown Mountain. She overlooked the airport, and you can see all the planes taking off and landing, and that's pretty much all I did. I would sit on her porch and I would just watch the planes take off and land, and I still do that when I visit her. I also enjoyed watching the planes take off from the harbor, but you know, because I had a fascination for engineering, I was always curious as to how things worked. So in going to school at All Saints, one of my subjects that I was most interested in was math and science. So from there I went to the University of Virginia, pursued engineering. The following summer I reached out to the Virgin Islands Port Authority to see if I can get an internship with them as a civil engineer. So they landed me a position as an intern in their engineering department. So I got to work at Sarah Lee King Airport in St. Thomas, and that was where I really got my first taste of airport design in the aviation industry. And then during that time, some engineers that worked for a firm that did a lot of work at the airport came down, and I decided to network with them. They landed me an interview with their office that was outside of Baltimore. So by the time I graduated, I actually got a position as an airport engineer, and where I would apply practices and design for airports based on aviation regulation. As I grew, I took more of a leadership role in managing projects. So I did a lot of work primarily at Baltimore Washington International Airport. I did some work at JFK International Airport in New York, and I did a lot of work at a lot of small airports in Maryland. I worked at URS for about 9 years, and after that I saw there was an opportunity to work at another engineering firm that was basically involved in the design and construction of the 4th runway at Dulles. And it was a great opportunity, so I went to work at that firm. It gave me a lot of good exposure and first-hand experience, hands-on experience of what it's like to build a runway from scratch. Once that project was completed, a lot of the airport work was starting to dry out. So aviation was my passion, so I decided to see what was out there so I can continue pursuing my career in aviation. And that was when I saw an opening for a position in the FAA for a civil engineer in the Office of Airports in the Airport Engineering Division, and I pursued that, and I landed the position. I've been here ever since, but I've grown tremendously in this role and learning about the federal government, the FAA, and just aviation regulation even more. And we developed the policy for practices in engineering to promote safety at airports. In my directorate, there's the Airport Engineering Division, which I'm part of, and that is where we basically develop the policy and practices, and we initiate and manage programs for best practices of engineering and design at airports. So there's, design engineering is a policy and it is a regulation as to how airports should be designed, but there's also other things to consider, such as the potential impacts to the surrounding environment. For example, if there's some adverse effect that would harm the environment in some way, we would have to consider that, obviously. So we always work together. I think the three directorates, we do a good job at working together. putting our minds together and making sure that we come up with a collaborative solution to, as far as the best way to address an airport, or to plan and design an airport moving into the future that is consistent with all of the regulation. I work with a tremendously talented and dedicated team. Basically, we achieve our mission by setting annual goals for making sure that our policy is reflected based on what the demands are at the airport environment. We come up with guidance, we come up with policy every year, and we make sure that it's up to date and current. And if there is a new, unique challenge, we will develop new guidance and policy to address that. The most important thing is that what I do is very important and essential to the safety of airports. And it involves a lot of spontaneity, but what makes me come to work every day is saying that what I do matters. And the program specifically that I manage, the Runway Safety Area program, is an initiative that is there to protect the traveling public, to protect those that are traveling on board an airplane, as well as those that are in the area surrounding the airport, or also on the airport as well. To explain what a runway safety area is, also known as an RSA, it's what it is basically it's an area. It serves as a rectangular area that surrounds the runway, that basically acts as a clear zone or a buffer that, in the event that the aircraft in some way deviates from the runway, whether it overshoots it or runs off to the side or touches down short when landing, that area is kept clear of objects so that it's protected, so that the aircraft is protected, as well as the people around in the area are protected. So it acts as a buffer zone in the event of it basically an aircraft deviating from the runway. So in 2000, what we decided to do in year 2000 is we took on a very ambitious program in addressing all of our RSAs at airports that are certified for commercial service. So there's approximately 550 airports with approximately 1,000 runways in which we needed to evaluate the runway safety areas and make sure that they were up to standard. So throughout the duration of this program, we've set annual goals in improving RSAs, a certain amount of RSAs every year. Later on, United States Congress mandated that we complete this program by the end of calendar year 2015. So we've done an outstanding job in completing our runway safety areas and improving them to the best extent possible, and in the industry we say to the extent practicable. So part of the runway safety area program involves the installation of engineered materials arresting systems, which is also known as EMAS. EMAS is a type of mitigation or a type of improvement that you can use when you're trying to improve your safety area. And what it is it's basically a bed of soft material that is placed at the end of the runway in the event that the aircraft does overshoot the runway or deviate from the runway, that it's there to safely stop it. It crushes under the pressure of a plane, and it slows it down, it decelerates it so that the plane comes to a safe stop. The passengers on board are kept safe, and the damage to property is kept at a minimal. So we've had events where we've had 9 events where aircraft have overrun the runway and have been safely stopped by EMAS, and it's saved a total of 243 people on board. That's both passengers and crew members. So it's a very worthwhile investment for airports and for the FAA as well. Again, those are the type of things that make me get up in the morning and come to work. The Virgin Islands is a large part of me. And growing up in the Virgin Islands, that's just been an experience that I wouldn't trade. And it was something that I kind of took for granted growing up. Because I always say, oh man, there's nothing to do on this island, or it's so small. But that's basically the nourishment that we needed. Growing up in the Virgin Islands has just been something that I'm very proud of, and definitely always look forward to going back. And whenever I go back home, it's like sometimes it just feels like you never left.